Did you guys notice in the book the mistake about friends?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes, it drove me nuts.
Right away. I was like,
What?
Gosh,
Wait,
what
there's a
happened?
mistake?
Yes, on page
It
149,
says
he
Rachel
sets up
instead
the
of-
he sets up the whole scene. He's like, it's when Ross finds out about Monica and Chandler, and he's talking about the numbers on the face, and he does a perfect 4, 7, 10, whatever, like to show his expressions, you know, that part. And it's just like a typo. Like, I'm like, how did this guess past like all your editors? The next, like it's on page 149.
He also
said-
did it in the audio. This is what's crazy to me.
Oh, wow.
Like,
Well,
how
he
do
must
you
have been
not
reading his
catch
book.
it?
Ross
What is this?
sees Chandler and Rachel embracing. Well, no, he doesn't. He
Oh.
sees Chandler and Monica embracing.
Monica embracing.
And like,
Ooh.
I tweeted it and I got no traction either. I was like, this is going to be my time on Twitter. Like, someone's going to, I
That's
Googled it to
funny.
see if it already was like an uproar. Like if people were like, oh, edited Malcolm Gladwell's, because that's a pretty big one. Like that's not just a typo. It's a whole different character.
Yeah, Chandler and Rachel would not be embracing.
No,
Never.
not in that episode anyway.
I don't think they've ever embraced on an
Generation?
episode. I'm sure they haven't.
Yeah, they never have.
No.
And
They're
isn't there a whole new
friends.
generation that are obsessed with Friends right now? Like, you'd think
Yeah.
it'd be a thing, like a real thing.
Yeah, like a movement.
Yeah.
Say her name. Like, you know,
Say
get her
it.
name right.
I thought that was really interesting, though, the idea that there's this like way that we do think that our faces should look. And I will often, I'm kind of cerebral a lot of the time. So when I'm going through something, I'm often thinking, so I don't really show a lot of emotion. So I actually put on things on my face, especially working in the restaurant industry, so that people feel comfortable with the way that I am. Like I'll smile or do something with my eyes to be this idea of what the friends people are, just so that other people feel comfortable. And I think like even what was her name, Amanda Knox, and that idea that she just lived her life differently and didn't act the way that people thought that she should act when her roommate had been murdered, that all of a sudden they're like, well, she must be guilty. And I always worry, I'm like, well, what if I'm in a
Totally.
situation like that and I don't react the way that they want me to react, because I don't react most of the time the way people expect me to be reacting. I just found that really fascinating and different, you know, that's different islands and how they'd shown those faces, remember, of the people, of what people were smiling and sad and frowning, and the people on those islands that didn't have a lot of exposure to other places didn't recognize that like in their mind, that face didn't link to the same emotion as what we in North America would think that face would link to.
So here's something interesting from that, because it's like basically saying like TV has kind of ruined us. We just like assume everybody reacts the same way, which is what you're saying. But then you think about like people who watch, let's say, because like, you know, people say you shouldn't let your kids watch more than whatever the recommendation is for the American Pediatric Association.
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours a day, no more than 2 hours of TV a day. But like some people don't let their kids watch very much TV at all, and some their kids watch more TV for whatever reason. And so you wonder if different people were like the kids who don't watch any TV maybe have trouble being understood by the kids who watch a lot of TV or something, or vice versa, because they're seeing different things. And so like these kids are just reacting however, like you're thinking you look angry, but you're not really angry, right? Like I think like this, people are like, Dan's always like, what's wrong? I'm like, oh, I'm just thinking. He's like, okay, I thought you were angry. Right? But you wonder if that's going to cause like maybe some people don't get along or even just the shows that you do watch, right? Like somebody's watching only Friends and then somebody's watching something completely different. I don't know. You wonder if that's going to cause misunderstanding just because media is such a huge impact or such a huge influence on
I think
how we learn how to interact with each other as well.
I like the research they did about being shocked, that they looked at all these people in a shocking situation and no one reacted like on a sitcom. I love that. I really love that because, well, even like our off the shelf episode, how we were talking, how when I go to shock, I'm like, oh, like run around with my arms up in the air. But like, and then Lindsay all of a sudden takes action, right? Like everybody reacts differently, but because we're all be painted with the same brush, then like people are not really reading people, you know, properly. Do you know what I mean? Like,
What was when they were
Me, I
trying to
think-
shock
oh,
people? That was hilarious. Wasn't it, Sarah, that they, wasn't it they put them in a room? Like they walked them through an area and then put them in a room and then changed the whole, like it was a set, and then they changed the outside. So when they came
was
out of
elaborate.
the door,
Yeah.
it was like, and then there was somebody there who they knew or something that
Yeah.
yelled. Was that in my head, or
no,
I
it
don't
was
know.
something really shocking.
you're like walking to a room and then you walk out and the room is different? Like how would you
Yeah.
react? You'd be like,
Did somebody put something in my coffee?
yeah.
I'm here.
I would probably think it was my brain. I'd be like, maybe I wasn't paying attention when I walked
Yeah, I
in.
would think that too. Yeah.
So this is what it was. The experiment was they sat in a room and listened to a recording of Frank Kafka, right? A short story. And then when they finished the test, because they started in one room, right? And they were led to a corridor, listened to Kafka, and then led back to the room they thought they were going back to that they had originally gone into before. And when they come to the room has been changed. And what it is now, it's a wide open space, not like a small room. It has bright green walls, a single light bulb hangs from the ceiling, illuminating a bright red chair, and sitting in the chair is your best friend looking solemn.
So it just happened to me. I was like, it's happening. It's finally happening.
So elaborate. It's like
I
the most
knew that my
elaborate-
life was absurd. Yeah, I'm like, I knew this was all a lie
Confirmation.
or whatever, right? Like whenever you read like a Kafka or something like that, you think maybe it is all like an illusion. I don't know. Does anybody ever think that?
Right. So they make them listen to Kafka first, which makes sense. And I remember being like scary. So that's what it was. It was friend, but it's scary. Yeah, that's so funny. And so obviously you're shocked, and very few look like anyone from Friends.
Oh, you think it's scary?
Yeah,
Oh,
I would think it would be scary. No?
you think you would be scared or just like
Yes.
confused? I'm just like,
That's what I think the problem was, is that everybody's facial expressions was more confusion than it was shock, because it
like confused shock being like, but you would be confused and shocked being like, I've been drugged, or reality is not what I thought it was.
right. They
I don't know.
wanted you to be
I like sci-fi.
right? Like, oh, it's
Yeah.
so shocking. Right. But
Right? Like
everyone
you
really
would be
like,
cautious. You'd be like, my best friend's there though. This can't just be that they did this.
You'd be
How did my best friend get
curious.
here?
Yeah. You'd be
Like it'd be like confusing, but like
Mm.
I must be careful now.
But I think
Totally.
that, I think
Nothing
Am I
is
moving in
those
slow motion?
things.
Like I'd be thinking all these things. Yeah.
I'd be
I don't know if
scared,
fear would-
but I think it's because I've done so much. Like I work for that charity for human trafficking. So if I saw my friend there looking
Context.
scared in a room we
Yeah.
weren't supposed to be in, and then people led me after listening to a Kafka or short story, I would already be feeling weird. I'd go in there and be like, oh my God, is this it?
Are we trafficked?
Oh my God. Or,
This is how they do it?
Sort of like
How
scary,
elaborate.
like,
I thought it was
black market and what's
Why
happening?
did they read me that story?
I'd be terrified. I'm like,
you'd be like, I thought they just like throw you into like a van. I didn't think they were gonna have this big warehouse with this like psychological,
You're really
like
tricking me.
psychologically upsetting test.
I'd be confused and terrified. You know,
Interesting.
I'd run.
That's true. That's true. But
Would
that's our
you,
reactions
though?
too. You'd be flighting. I'd be like, what do I need to do here? I need to be cautious. What's
Yeah,
my
I'd be
next
flighting.
step? And you'd just be like, I
Would
gotta
you
get out of here.
really though? Like both
I
of
would
you,
be fighting
Sarah,
for sure.
would you run? Like if you walked into that room, would you try to run away, or you'd run
No,
towards your
shock.
friend?
That
You'd just
shock
run
is more like the shock where my arms are up in the air. Actually, it's more when I'm physically like
Attacked.
injured. But I would flight. I would run. I would I would
away
see-
or in the room.
away from
Like,
at
would
least the people who led me to the room.
I bet you'd start backing up and looking around, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I'd be like, I gotta get the hell out of here.
like what?
I would
And I'd
think
be,
it
like,
was on like
signaling to my
bloopers
friend,
somehow,
"No,
like a
but
hidden
let's
TV
go."
camera show.
Yeah.
That would be my default to my truth. Is like
I
if
wouldn't
things
think it
don't
was
make
like a
sense.
crime.
There's a hidden camera somewhere. Someone's trying to make me look stupid. And I'm
Oh,
not gonna
see,
look
no, I would
stupid.
run.
I'm gonna look cool instead.
Yeah,
Hmm.
totally.
yeah.
Actually,
That
you
didn't
know
bother
what?
me.
Look
at
at
all.
me.
That's-
Fine. My friend's here. The room's green. Whatever.
I was thinking I'd probably try to get my friend, but I wouldn't. I would just run. I remember
Great.
once when me and Kara, we were
Good
we
to
were
know, right? You're on
we
your
went
own
to
if you're
her
with her.
old
I know.
we went to her old house.
Was it
We
haunted?
were in our 20s. They had moved, and Kara's old house had a hot tub. You remember, Leah? You had a hot tub there, and we had been out at clubbing or whatever, and we decided that we wanted to go into the hot tub. And Kara's like, we should just try to go. Like they're sleeping. We could just probably get in. And I was like, and at the time, probably because we were drunk.
Yeah, it's like, that's a great idea.
So we went, but Kara forgot that the backyard had sensor lights, which like they literally just moved a month before. And so we went into the backyard and the sensor lights came on and I jetted. I was out of there.
I'm out of here.
Like they never saw me. I was like in the bushes. I like ran and slid into the bushes so they didn't see me. Kara, being someone that would freeze, was like,
she had jazz hands.
Ever. And I'm like,
you have to run now. Running is our reaction in this situation.
and the lady that moved in was like, I can see you.
Even if she's frozen. No, you can't. I'm in tableau.
You're just sorry. Get out of my backyard. And she was like, okay, sorry. She moved out. She's like, Sarah. She couldn't even see where I was. Sarah, where are you? And I was like, shh, stop using my name.
I'm not here. I disappeared.
I was literally gone. And she was like, I didn't even see where you went. The lights went on and you were just gone.
Like, exactly. Take notes.
So I think if I walked into that room with the light bulb with the thing and the chair in my front, I would be out of there.
Yeah, but Sarah, remember, you had this like authority figure walking you around though. You're like, I signed up for this experiment and there's an authority figure beside me. You'd also be like, there's the rules. So at first you'd be like, the rules?
I don't think so.
The scary thing, the rules.
That's the
and then you'd
Milgram
probably
thing.
go.
What would you think you would do in the Stanley Milgram experiment? Would you shock the people until they were crying out that they couldn't handle it anymore? Right?
Oh, that's hard to tell.
I think not, but everybody thinks not.
Exactly,
Everybody
because
thinks
we
they wouldn't.
do have an authority thing. Like, because in that Milgram experiment, they also have redone it and like tested, like if the person who's telling you to do the shocking, how professional they look, like how authoritative they look, right? Do they have a lab coat on or are they dressed casual or whatever? And more people listen to the more like uniformed guy.
I don't know how they'd redo that. I'm sure everybody's heard of this experiment.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was in the original experiment then that they had those variables or not, but I know that there's an impact from how authority the guy like looks. I don't know what the right tense of the word authority is to make it work in that sentence.
But there's bound to be people who don't know this experiment. Like you just get people who are younger than us because, you know, we've been around for a while.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
If you have any psychology learning, then you do know, because it's like why we have ethics.
But like a lot of the experiments
that's what
are
they
done
use to
on,
teach you like why ethics exist.
like done on like undergraduates. So depending on, you could like screen an undergraduate who might not have learned that like
Or
before they went to university or whatever. Like it's possible. Like think about when you
could be teaching
younger.
that experiment to your new psychology class. Like they might actually not know. They learn it. You learn about it at that's
right.
Like, yeah.
And like think back to like whenever you learned something that happened like when your parents were like 20, right? And it's like, oh, there's something new, but it's something they've known forever. I don't know. Right? It's all in context. Doesn't everybody know that? Or like, or old movies that are like famous but not super famous. Right? Like everybody's seen that movie. I don't know.
There's surprising ones. Like people will be like, who's Christopher Reeve? Or whatever. You know what I mean? Like what depending
like,
on where the age line is, people that we all think is like, well, duh.
Is it Reeve? I always thought it was Reed. Like D, not V.
Oh no, it's definitely V, but it might be Reeves.
Christopher Reeves? I think so.
With an S,
I was
not a
watching,
Z like I pronounced it.
We were watching College Humor. They do this
It's a bunch of Z's at the end.
don't laugh.
It's super
Zeds.
cool.
Christopher Reeves. You pronounce
like,
all 4 Z's.
Oh.
So ridiculous. I always thought it was Reeds.
Book interrupted.
The kids go back to school today. Officially, it was yesterday, but yesterday, ironically, of course, was a snow day, so no kids at school yesterday. Today's the big day. We're all up early. We're all ready to go. Everything's coming together smoothly, folks. And then Bob gets home after having been out for over 24 hours doing snow removal, and he kindly offers to start my vehicle for me, then takes off to go do another shift of snow removal. We make our way to the vehicle, but what's that? the keys are inside the car and the car is all locked? No worries. I can improvise. It was over like 40 minutes of me swearing up a storm, trying to like unwind or unhook or straighten out coat hangers, trying to like pry the door slightly open with a hammer. Finally, I broke down. I called Bob. He drives back across the city. He's very grumpy. Takes hold of the coat hanger. Bada bing, bada boom. We were able to make it in. Done like dinner. So great.
Book interrupted.
You know, wearing certain things and people feeling like that they're in control or they're an authoritative figure. And I also think body language. While you were saying that, Kim, I was thinking that, like, do you know how often if you just look, if you stand straight and you look like you're confident, you can walk into a lot of places that you're not supposed to walk into or do whatever?
Oh yeah,
They're
totally.
like, oh, they know where they're going or they know what they're doing. And
That's
like,
what Bernie Madoff did. The way that he
Yeah.
spoke. That's why they
yeah.
were like, oh, never mind. He's not a scammer. How could he possibly speak so, intelligently about
confidently.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But also
Um,
you saying attractiveness too, because it makes me think that, I mean, throughout my life, I remember one time I got a friend of mine, just like an interim job I was working for Cadbury. And like, it was just a summer position. And I was like, they've never done anything sales, nothing business, whatever. And they're like, no, that's okay. That guy's a good looking guy. He'll do fine. And I was like, oh, that like literally that was like, that's what the boss said. Oh, he's good looking. He'll be fine. So, and I have experience driving. If I wasn't like, when I'm not wearing makeup and I get pulled over for something, I always get a ticket. But if I like look put together.
Why do you get pulled
How
over
often
so
do you get
much?
pulled over?
Toronto, you get pulled over a lot. Like no left turns between 5 and 6 on a Thursday. Like
Possibly you're a bad driver?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Remember that time we got pulled over because you were eating a donut?
What? I
Where
don't
did we go?
remember, but I
Remember we were
I
looking
get
for
pulled
ground
over.
beef to make. That's what we told the cop. We got pulled over because Sarah was driving too slow because she was eating a donut and like looking at, and it was like New Year's Day or something. It was some day where nothing was open and we were driving around looking
And
for...
people were probably also possibly drunk from the night before. That's probably why you actually pulled you over if you're going slow.
Yeah, like he made some comment. We are like, no, or maybe we thought, like, we're like, oh, why are we getting pulled over? And she was like, maybe it's because I'm eating this donut. And I was like, I think you're allowed to eat when you're driving. I don't know.
You're not now.
Maybe.
Legally, it's actually a
Distracted
legal
driving.
thing.
It's
Yes,
so
called
stupid.
Oh, is
then
it now?
remove
Oh
the
my
radio
God.
and no more passengers either. You know what I mean? Like, where do
Yeah,
we
it's
draw the line?
ridiculous.
Everything's distracting.
Maybe.
It's
Well,
true.
that's why it's strange that you can still talk on Bluetooth because it's just as distracting as talking on your phone if it's not wireless.
Yes. Or
Right?
if, what about what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'm having a nice day driving, and then someone's like, oh, your uncle died. Oh, like
very dramatic.
I feel like in the car is where I cry a lot. Like because I don't want to cry in front of
Like
my
while
family.
driving though? While driving?
Yeah,
Yeah,
should just
you
pull
need to
over
pull
for that.
over. Yeah,
I'm alone. Yeah.
I've pulled over if I was feeling sad. I'll be like, I need to
you
pull
have
over
to,
and-
like, because you're like you're incapable of seeing at that point.
This is why it's
Like,
really hard
Well,
listening
no,
to
like there's
certain
levels of
songs.
crying too. Like not
That's
like,
right.
I'm not like,
okay.
really like having it. No, but I definitely cry a lot, and I listen to so many podcasts in cars. Sometimes they're super sad, and you gotta cry.
yeah.
You gotta cry.
If you've enjoyed these video highlights, listen to the full episode on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember to like and subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when new episodes are published. Find out more by going to www.bookinterrupted.com.
Never forget, every child matters.